The day I realized I was falling for my CEO, the world tilted in ways I never imagined.
The board is
It
expecting
happened
results. What's the
quietly,
latest?
in the
We've
middle
hit a
of an
snag, but I have
ordinary
a solution.
workday,
Good.
as
Show
I
me.
watched the
Here,
stride
this is
across
it.
the glass wall conference room. Every movement carried a calm authority, the kind you only see in someone who has weathered storms unseen by anyone else. People whispered that she was too old for love, a remark I tried to ignore. Yet something in the way she carried her past made my chest ache. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or unexpected love, pause for a second, like this video, and share it with someone who needs hope. Stories like this deserve to be felt. My name is Aaron Whitman. I was a junior strategy analyst at a rapidly growing tech firm in Seattle, Washington. Young enough to believe hard work alone could save a life, and old enough to know it rarely does. Our CEO, Margaret Collins, was in her late 40s, with silver streaks in her dark hair, a public divorce behind her, and a reputation for being unapproachable. She had built the company from a failing startup into a national powerhouse, sacrificing personal life in the process. People assumed she had no time for love, and I repeated those assumptions like armor, protecting myself from noticing the softness in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. Margaret ran meetings with precision, but it was the quiet moments that stayed with me. Late evenings when the office emptied and she stayed behind reviewing reports under fluorescent lights. I would pass by with my bag slung over my shoulder and see the weariness she never let the board witness. It reminded me of my mother after my father died, the stubborn strength that keeps you upright even when your heart wants to fold. I told myself my concern was professional respect, nothing more. Yet, the more I tried to remain distant, the more that distance collapsed on its own, like gravity obeying its own laws. I found excuses to double-check figures and personally deliver them to her office. The challenge wasn't just the age gap or hierarchy. It was the unspoken rule that feelings had no place in a building made of glass and ambition. Colleagues joke about Margaret's past, about how she had missed a chance. Each laugh landed like a bruise. I started defending her in subtle ways, redirecting conversations, changing subjects, feeling foolish for caring so deeply. But my attention was drawn to her anyway. It wasn't about romance. It was about noticing humanity behind the armor of authority. Everything shifted during a company retreat in Aspen, Colorado. Far from our familiar office battlefield, the mountains stripped us of titles. There, Margaret wasn't just CEO. She was a woman standing on a balcony at dawn, staring at snow-covered peaks, her expression prayerful and lonely. Later, during a presentation, she faltered, not in content, but in confidence. The weight of expectations pressed down, and I stepped in to help, feeling gratitude flicker across her face. It felt like being trusted with something sacred. Back in Seattle, the office felt different. Conversations deepened. We exchanged stories in small, indirect ways. Her sacrifices, her isolation at the top, my own fears of invisibility in a system that rewards noise. Rumors began to circulate anyway. A lingering glance, late meetings, shared rides after storms. HR policies loomed like thunderclouds. I considered resigning multiple times, thinking removing myself was the only way to protect her. But each time I pictured her standing alone, burdened yet unbowed, my resolve crumbled. Love, I realized, doesn't ask permission. It sneaks in quietly, demanding courage, patience, and subtlety. The turning point came during a company crisis, a data breach that shook the firm to its core. Margaret absorbed the public blame, shielding her team. Watching her take the hit, I felt something open inside me. I stayed late, helping rebuild trust, drafting plans, and standing beside her in exhausted hours. I no longer saw an untouchable executive, but a human being fighting for her life's wake. When the crisis passed, the board praised her resilience, but she retreated, walls higher than ever. Loving Margaret meant accepting the cost of her strength. It meant choosing patience when everything in me screamed for certainty. I wrote my resignation letter, convinced stepping back was the honorable choice. But fate has a way of interrupting even the best-laid plans. Before submitting my resignation, Margaret called a company-wide meeting to discuss the future. Her voice was steady but heavy. She spoke about rebuilding with transparency, valuing people over perceptions. Though she never mentioned me, her eyes found mine in the crowd, a silent plea for courage. That night, I tore up my resignation letter, choosing faith over fear. Even without knowing the destination, time softened the edges. Boundaries were redrawn with care. Titles remained. Whispers faded. We didn't rush. We learned to breathe in the space between us. What grew wasn't scandal, but partnership, two people choosing respect before desire. The age difference, once a whispered taboo, became irrelevant compared to shared values and trust. Too old for love revealed itself as a lie people tell when they fear depth. Over weeks, our connection strengthened quietly. Conversations retained professionalism but carried subtle understanding. Margaret shared pieces of her life, sacrificed friendships, lonely triumphs, the summit of success that left her solitary. I shared doubts and insecurities, the fear of being unseen in a world that rewards noise. We navigated this delicate dance, careful of perception yet honest with ourselves. Small acts mattered, a shared coffee, reviewing a project together, staying late to organize a company charity. Each moment was a silent gesture of support, empathy, and trust. Outside, the world saw only the CEO and her employee. Inside, we saw each other, human and fallible, connected by courage and patience. The real test came when personal and professional boundaries collided. I felt temptation, a pull towards something forbidden. But every time, respect and care guided me. Love, I realized, is not a declaration or a rush. It is patience, resilience, and presence. It is standing beside someone silently, ready to support without demanding acknowledgement or reciprocation. Eventually, the office atmosphere shifted. Rumors faded. Professionalism endured. But beneath it all, a quiet bond formed. The whispers about age became irrelevant. I no longer saw too old for love. I saw depth, wisdom, and the courage to be vulnerable. Margaret was not defined by society's limits, but by her humanity. The lessons weren't flashy. Love isn't about timing according to the world. It's about courage according to the soul. Our story didn't erase scars. It didn't resolve every struggle. It simply proved that even in places built for profit and power, the human heart can still bloom. Today, I look at Margaret and see not a CEO, not an age, not a title. I see a woman who taught me that love arrives quietly, without asking permission, without demanding drama. Love is patience. Love is respect. Love is bravery. And if you're somewhere out there carrying a quiet hope you've been told is unrealistic, let this story remind you, love doesn't wait for permission. It asks only that you have the courage to show up honestly, fully, and humanly.